This is Carlos Alcaraz, a four-time major winner at just 21 years old. And this? Just some random dude from Serbia who is also 21 years old. And here's Carlos when that dude from Serbia was 21. Alcaraz continues to prove everyone wrong, including me. He's the youngest player to reach 4 major titles, and he's done it on every surface. When Alcaraz first burst onto the scene at 18, people knew he had potential. But did anyone think he'd take the tennis world by storm this quickly and possibly become the greatest player to ever live? Roger Federer, highly regarded as one of the best to ever do it. He finished his career with 20 majors, should have been 21, still haunts me to this day. Even at one point, he was considered the unanimous GOAT. But then out of nowhere, Nadal and Djokovic became Braun and Jordan for a couple of years and dethroned him. Anyway, Federer had always struggled on clay. To this day, he only has 1 French Open title. Here he is at 27 after 3 French Open final losses in a row, all to some Spanish kid. Finally getting his wish. This changed his life forever. Now this is impressive and all, but let me show you something. And here's Carlos. He's about to win his first French Open title. Oh, and it's not his first title. This is his 3rd on a different surface. How old is he? 21. So, this kid was able to do something at 21 which Federer could barely do in his entire career. Now you may be wondering, yeah, Roger wasn't good on clay. That's unfair. All right, remember that Spanish kid I was talking about? No, not that one. 22-time major winner, Olympic gold medalist, won on clay. A lot. Here he is winning his first Wimbledon in 2008, making him the youngest to ever win on all surfaces at 23. And that leaves the Joker, the real GOAT, the greatest to ever do it. 24 majors, most consistent out of all the big 3 on each surface, with 10 Australian Opens, 3 French Opens, 7 Wimbledons, and 4 US Opens. Oh yeah, and he won on all surfaces at 24, 3 years older than Alcaraz did it. But we'll get back to him. Alcaraz is making history every time he steps onto the court. He's breaking all the big 3s records in a time when the game only continues to get better. But to fully understand how insane this is, we must go back in time. Meet Pete Sampras. He's about to win his 14th major title, which came out of absolutely nowhere considering the year he had. But besides that, this was a record nobody had achieved yet. Borg had previously held the record with 11 titles, and Pete would go on to get 3 more than that. Yes, I know Roy Emerson and Rod Laver won 11 and 12 respectfully, but they literally played before the pyramids were built. Nobody thought anyone would break his record. 14 was a number people couldn't even have imagined being broken. Then that Federer dude came along, and then that Spanish kid, and then the Joker. 3 people went on to beat his record, but not only beat it, they crushed it. This is a lot like when LeBron broke Kareem's record. Nobody thought anyone would ever come near, but lo and behold, the kid from Akron went out and did it. The thing about sports is that there's always a new prodigy, a new name that people have high hopes for. They always think they will pan out as the best to ever do it, like when Andrei Rublev came on the scene and actually had decent mental stability. I hope he comes back. He's super talented. He's just stuck in his head. Then there was Zverev, who beat Federer in the early stages of his career. Everyone thought he was going to be the GOAT. Now he just chokes 2-1 leads. Don't get me wrong, he's really good, but people were making it out like he was the next in line. Then the 16-year-old from Spain came along. Alcaraz had a rapid rise. People knew there was something special about him, but I've never seen someone get set expectations and then crush them by a mile. Not just a mile, 100 miles. In 2022, Alcaraz pulled off one of the most improbable runs ever in a tournament. It felt like every match he played went the distance. At just 19 years old, he was taking out everyone. You would think he would be scared of the atmosphere at the loudest major tournament, but he was loving it. He fought Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinals and saved a match point, then went on to beat the kid in 5 sets, with the match ending at 3 a.m. This would just be the start of the history between these two. Alcaraz managed to win against Casper Ruud in the final and secure his first major. meanwhile becoming one of the youngest players to win a slam just behind a bunch of random people you might have heard of. But the one thing I've learned from sports is that nobody is invincible. There's always been one concerning thing about Alcaraz, and it's injuries. Back in 2021, when he had his first breakthrough run at the US Open tournament, where we figured out this kid was going to be a star, he was forced to pull out due to an injury in his leg at just 18 years old. Getting injured like this at a young age only means it's going to get worse as he gets older. It's a real problem. And even leading up to his magical US Open run we just talked about, he had suffered an abdominal injury, which was then followed by another injury that was in his hamstring during training. This one forced him out of the Australian Open, which was very disappointing considering it would be his first major tournament after winning the US Open. Then the French Open rolled around, and in many eyes, he looked like the favorite to win it all. And then we saw a new issue for Alcaraz: cramps. He stated that it was the tension, Alcaraz told reporters, the tension of the match. You know, I started the match really nervous. The tension of the first set, the second set, it was a really intense 2 sets. But hey, if I saw this guy on the other side of the court in a Grand Slam semifinal, I would be nervous too. And yes, Djokovic went on to win that tournament, also becoming oldest to do so. But it wasn't over for these two. They had unfinished business. And you know Alcaraz wasn't going to go down without a fight. Wimbledon was just around the corner, and Alcaraz hadn't had much experience on grass. He only had 6 matches on grass before 2023. It was going to be an experience for him, to say the least. So many questions about whether this kid could keep up on the grass courts. But he didn't just keep up, he played out of his mind. As the tournament ran down, we saw 2 familiar faces again, Djokovic and Alcaraz. And sure enough, they would end up facing each other in the final. A 7-time champion and a 20-year-old kid who played 6 matches on grass before 2023. But this isn't an ordinary kid. Nothing about this kid is ordinary. The announcers even think he's an alien. Right off the bat, we knew this was going to be a battle, a test of willpower between both players. They were making it so hard for each other to even just win a single point. There was even a 26-minute game, which was the most insane thing I've ever seen. And Alcaraz would end up winning it on a 7th breakpoint. Yes, I said 7. The match would end up going 5 sets. In one of the greatest Wimbledon finals ever, the kid did it. He beat the greatest player ever on his home turf, retained his spot as world number 1, and showed the entire world that he's here to stay. And it didn't stop here. Remember that Zverev guy I was talking about? Yeah, here's him completely falling apart at the French Open, allowing Alcaraz to finally win it. But not only did he finally win on clay, Alcaraz would break history by becoming the youngest player ever to win on all 3 surfaces, as I mentioned before. Meaning, he's good on everything and also at everything. He also injured his forearm before the tournament and was doubted by a lot of people, but nothing seems to surprise me with him. And just like that, we're back. Wimbledon 2024, the most highly anticipated tournament of the year. But we'll get back to this. We need some context first. While Alcaraz was doing his thing at the French, the Joker was battling an injury in his right knee. Yet he still won his round of 16 matchup while basically on his deathbed. Only him. Only him. Djokovic would end up withdrawing from the tournament as he was going to play Casper Ruud, which would have been a rematch of the final in 2023. But Djokovic threw in the towel and eventually had knee surgery. He was never going to be seen again. Yeah, right. A month after surgery on his meniscus, this dude was back in action at the biggest tournament of the year. But not only did he enter the tournament, he made it to the final. I mean, are we serious? 24-time major winner, 37 years old, nothing left to prove. This guy is a true GOAT, but our story doesn't end here. Yeah, he made it to the final, but who would his opponent be? Carlos once again. This would be one of the most anticipated rematches of all time. Unfortunately for Djokovic, it just wasn't his day. He was injured to begin with and shouldn't have even entered the tournament. You can't beat a guy like Alcaraz when you're not healthy. Heck, even when you're fully healthy, this kid is almost impossible to beat. Alcaraz destroyed him. It felt like the Joker wasn't even there. Alcaraz broke even more history. Djokovic had only lost 2 finals in straight sets, against Andy Murray in 2013 and Medvedev in 2021. Alcaraz would be the third player to do so. Not to mention he became a back-to-back Wimbledon champion. Oh yeah, and the last person to do that? Novak Djokovic. And here's a list of people who went 4-0 in major finals to start their careers. Yeah, just him and Federer. He's on par with the GOATs. Now, as a 4-time champion, I see no signs of stopping. Is he the next GOAT? Will he break the Joker's record? Or will he not even get past 20? Only time will tell.